An idea is a seed containing everlasting energy, if planted correctly, worked thoroughly into the earth, carefully nurtured, to guide its roots to sprout, bind in time, intertwine gently within minerals from the rich soil that you chose to plant it in. Oh, here we go. It's beginning to grow. This is Wales after all. From Ball State University, in partnership with Cardiff Metropolitan University. 8 features, over 30 interviews, athletes from all over the world. This is Transatlantic Storytelling 2, how sport can change lives.
I guess over the years you become a bit philosophical about life, and I've always thought that there are sayings which apply very appropriately to sport. You have to seize the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity, and I think that applies very much to the Olympic Games. Well, I come from a pretty unlikely background. I come from a small mining community called Nantymoel. The school was on a hill, so we had no running track. One day, every year, we went down to the rugby pitch, and there was a very basic long jump pitch down there. I did quite well, and based on my winning distance, about 21 feet when I was 17, I was entered into the school's athletics championships in Cardiff. A guy called Ron Pickering had travelled from London, and he'd just been appointed as the national athletics coach for Wales. And he came up to me and he said, "Lynn, I've seen you do this. I think you can be one of this country's best ever athletes." I was taken totally by surprise. I was 18 and suddenly somebody was saying I could be a great athlete. It was only when I came to Cardiff College I began to think about the Olympic Games, but I had no idea what it took to get there. At the end of my first year, I went up to London in the national championships, and I actually jumped 26 feet for the first time. That gave me a lot of confidence. I received a letter from Buckingham Palace. I remember opening it and seeing the words, "Dear Lynn, you've been selected to represent Great Britain in the Olympic Games in Tokyo." I felt so excited. I couldn't believe it that at last I had been chosen to represent my country in the Olympic Games. The great thing initially in the Olympic Games is to take part in the opening ceremony. We lined up with our smart blue blazers on. On the left-hand side was the long jump pit, and I glanced across at it and I thought, well, in a few days' time, I'm going to be competing there. I knew I was in with a chance of maybe making the final. That was my aim when I went to the Tokyo Olympics. And maybe at the very outside, if I was lucky, and lucky enough, was to get a bronze medal. On the day itself of the final, the Welsh gods must have been in Tokyo and looking over the stadium, because it was the worst possible climatic conditions you could ever have for an Olympic long jump competition. We had 4-meter headwinds driving into us, driving rain, a cinder track with the pools of water covered everywhere. And we knew that the winning distance was going to be down on what we anticipated. I was up against the 2 best in the world. Ralph Boston from America had won the Olympic gold in Rome 4 years earlier. Igor Terovanessian from Russia had got the bronze 4 years earlier. As the competition went on, the weather conditions got worse. The jumping distances got worse, and the leading distance at the end of 4 rounds was way, way down. The important thing in the Olympic Games is not just the body, but the mind. I've always felt that the mind is plays a key role in international competition. Suddenly, these guys, I was able to beat them. And that realization made the difference in my mind. And I stood on the runway in the 5th round, and the wind was still gusting, the flags were still blowing, and I stood there for the best part of 30 seconds and waited for the wind to drop. And by some miracle, it did. The flags dropped, and I charged on the runway, hit the board spot on, knew it was a good jump, it felt good in the air, landed well, and I sort of stepped out of the pit and waited them to measure the distance. And the Japanese judges measured the distance. The big scoreboard swung around, and I turned my head, and it said 8 meters and 7 centimeters. Now, I'd gone into the lead in the Olympic final against my heroes, but they had one jump left, the 6th round. I could hardly bear to watch. The first to go was Igor Teravanesyan. His last jump, he jumped. There was a great roar from the crowd on the left-hand side. The scoreboard swung around 8 meters. So I'd beaten him by 7 centimeters, which is about 2 inches. The last to go was Ralph Boston, the world record holder, and I knew that if he hit the board spot on and jumped, he would beat me. Anyway, he ran down, jumped, again a roar from the crowd, and I thought Ralph has got his title, defended his title again. The scoreboard swung around, I looked around, dare not to look, and up the scoreboard 8 meters and 3 centimeters. So I'd won the Olympic title by 1 inch, 4 centimeters. And the feeling was unbelievable, that I just couldn't believe that I'd beaten the 2 greatest long jumpers in the world and become the Olympic champion. I was very proud to be in the British team, but very, very proud also to be a Welshman in that British team, because there weren't very many of us. Wales has a very proud sporting heritage, a very proud sporting legacy. And then I'll never forget travelling home, exhausted arriving, came to Paddington Station, the main railway station in London. There was a big sign outside, "Well done, Lynn, congratulations." And I was looking up at this thinking, that's me. And then the train from Paddington down to Cardiff. And then outside Cardiff railway station, there were something like 2,000 people outside the station. And they all clapped and cheered as a welcome home. Having won Olympic gold, you then set a standard for yourself. I never forget Ron Pickering and I were travelling along in the car to a training session, and he said, "Lynn, you're Olympic champion. Next year you've got the Commonwealth Games and the European Championships, and if you can win those, you can be the greatest athlete that this country has ever known." There were new frontiers to conquer. We've had great athletes before from Great Britain, but none of them have ever become Olympic, European and Commonwealth champion. But I managed to do it. I went to the Tokyo Olympics as a relatively known international athlete, but to come back to this country as an Olympic champion, as a national hero, you're looked upon as a sort of a role model. Oh yes, oh yes, yeah, here we are. There's one chap here, I notice. I seem to remember him from somewhere. These are legendary figures now. We talked about legends and what's it like to be a sporting hero. That's what these people are. We've been chatting about what these mean to people, these achievements.
Oh, I show mine all the time.
Are you on the end?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
I think it's really important. I think there's a huge legacy, and I think that the hallways like this just, you know, display it, and we should be really proud of it.
I went to the Tokyo Olympics and won the long jump.
Oh, it's nice because you see these things and then you never actually see the face or anything.
No, that's right, yeah. There's a great tradition here and a great legacy, and you're part of it now.
Wow.
That's my Olympic gold. Yeah. Tokyo, 1964. Congratulations.
Oh wow.
You've inspired me. Inspired me now. Yeah, lovely to meet you. I'm a great believer in the value of sport, because what else can we hand on to the next generation which has so much value that sport can offer? So it gives young people hope, the thought that if they can do it, I can do it. And for me, that's the main value for sport, to inspire the next generation to believe that they too can achieve.
Rugby is the national sport of Wales. With more than 300 clubs across the country, the passion for sport defines the culture.
Rugby is probably one of the main sports alongside football. A lot of people play it growing up.
Wales in particular, it's a die-for sport. You see the fans on the Six Nation days. If there's a home game in the stadium, all you have to do is walk down the street and everyone's wearing the red jerseys, everyone's chanting Wales.
Specifically in Wales, it's a working class sport. If you look at the England, Scotland and Ireland teams, a lot of the people who play rugby come from sort of those middle class backgrounds, private schools. Here in Wales, it's the sport of the people.
On the outside it looks like a real tough physical sport where you hate the person, the opposition you're playing. It's not like that at all. There's a lot of proudness and respect that comes out of rugby.
The passion is just unmatched. The passion's there in England, but it's just not as strongly ingrained into the culture as it is for Wales. The rawness of it, like you see the guys going out there and you see them all bloodied up, bruised, you see them coming off the pitch, and I think for people it's so real. I think a lot of people get fed up with footballers diving, rolling around on the floor, whereas in rugby, you're dying on the pitch and you're still begging to not go off.
We have to come to terms that there will be injuries. We do play an inherently really physical game, and more often than not, the day after, 2 days after, my body's in pieces and I can hardly get out of bed. I was playing and someone jumped on my knee and I did my ACL, MCL and had a depression fracture. Broke my elbow twice, dislocated it twice. Had to have 2 pins put in to pin my elbow back together.
I got a permanently broken collarbone. There's basically a chunk out of it, so that's quite fun. That flares up every now and then. I fractured my shoulder, carried on playing the game. You get hit, you're like, oh, my arm, but you're like, that's why I do this. If I'm hurting this much, imagine how much more my opposition is hurting. Imagine how much I can push harder in order to make this pain be worth it. You're going to get hit. Sometimes you come off second best. So I think if you don't embrace it, you don't really stand a chance.
The sport you love to play, like you try to do anything you love doing, and you just keep trying to do it if you love it. So it's having that passion for it that I've had since I was young. If you enjoy it enough, you can get through these things and keep playing. But you can be the biggest, strongest, most athletic person in the world. But rugby, you need mental toughness, and if you don't have it, you're not going to play at a top level.
It's something that's a big part of the game. It's something that people enjoy and makes it a unique sport. That dog mentality, that relentlessness, that hunger, the persistence that's needed to constantly strive and achieve is something that we've paid a lot of attention to. The level of physicality that are in some of these Buck Super Rugby games, some of our Welsh Championship games. These boys are hurting at the end of games. They've gone through a battle on the field, and it's something that we have a huge amount of respect for the guys who go out there and put their bodies on the line. That is part and parcel of the game. That physicality, that intensity, is something that we pride ourselves on here at Cardiff Met.
You have to see this as an opportunity for all of you. An opportunity to be part of that Welsh Championship promotion. An opportunity to put your hat in the ring for quarter-final selection. That's what this is about. So dress it up how you want, discuss it how you want. This now, collectively, is about us putting the team first and getting ourselves ready. It's about the team, it's about what we want to achieve as a group over the next 2 weeks and beyond. I'm excited for it this Wednesday. Everything today is about performance. We might make a mistake, but how hard we work, everything that we put into that, that's what we'll measure tonight on. Every single one of you will be the hard work, the effort that goes into tonight.
Let's go then, start building again. 40 minutes. Give it your all for 10 minutes, then we see where we are. Give it from everything for 10 minutes, then we see where we are. Go to wall, yeah? No backward steps, go into wall. Who's got that dog now? Who's got the dog?
Talk about being excited, we should be excited going into this half.
After 80 minutes of making tackle after tackle, carrying, clear outs, physically being in the moment, as painful as that was, look at the joy on their faces when they go over to see the supporters and the sheer passion that they have for the game, for the connections they've made. Cardiff Met has a long history of success in rugby, and these guys go on to perform at the top level is something to be really proud to be part of. Just knowing that you've been part of their development through rugby, through Wales, through Cardiff Met, is something that I'll always have a passion for.
I think pain and passion go hand in hand. I think if you're passionate about something, you're willing to put up with the pain, and therefore it drives you. I'm so in love with the game. It's something that I've ingrained into my life and have been for the past 10 years. It is a feeling that I get from nothing else. Nothing else can replicate how I feel when I have that ball in hand or when I'm running down the wing. It's been such a big part of my life.
My main characteristics as being a rugby player. You play it for so long, you end up having a relationship with it. It's like the best friend you can't really get rid of, and even if he goes away for a week, you think you don't want to do it, but as soon as it goes away for a week and you get injured for a week, you just want to go straight back out there. It's like a drug to me now. I probably can't live without it, and I probably won't live without it until my body tells me that's time. It's one of those things, you just live with it, and now me and rugby are inseparable.
Wait patiently. Keep watering. Keep nurturing. Until you see a wriggle. A minuscule movement. Push away the very top layer of soil. A stem appears, grasps its first breath of Welsh fresh air. The miniature green shoots continue to burst through the earth. Wow. The stem stretches, experiences its first warm cuddle from sunlight.
Athletes from all over the world come to Wales to grow, not just in sport, but in life.
He loves cricket, that's one thing for sure. He absolutely loves cricket. Barbara comes from a different country, different part of the world, different kind of conditions, different expectations around what cricket is. He brings a very different kind of mindset.
You can just tell straight away that he's a special character.
Cricket is my life, and I do not want to, let go of that. It was a bit saddening that all my life I prepared for this particular moment. I just could not express myself the way I wanted to. I'm Bhavya Doshi, 24 years of age, from India, Kolkata specifically, the eastern part of India, and I am a cricketer. It's a beautiful city, it's a big city of 20 million people. Somehow there's a beauty in that chaos, but it's still the sports capital of India. It's a very different life. We have a lot of people, a lot of cricketers. So what we do is we just play cricket wherever we can. And the streets are crowded, there are lots of houses, people walking over, cars honking, bikes going on. And in the middle of all of that, we play cricket. It is beautiful, everybody gets involved, whatever your age is, whether you're a girl, whether you're a boy, whether you're old, whether you're injured, doesn't matter. Gully cricket, everybody plays, and the entire neighborhood comes to life when it happens. So in June or July of 2008 was the first time I actually enrolled into a proper cricket club, and that's where my formal training began. So I'm a fast bowler. My job is to open the bowling with a new ball and run in from 30 yards, bowl as fast as I can, hopefully get some movement off the wicket, just to make sure that the opening batters, who are the best batters in any batting team, my job is to get them out. I got a call from my club saying that you have been selected for the under 14 team. I was 13 and played my first ever game of professional cricket. India does not have a lot of concept of student athletes, so when you're a student, you're only a student. You either play or you study, you don't do both. And I chose to study at that time because I thought that college is more important at the moment. At the age of 14, my parents and I took a decision that this year I'll stop it because I have to focus on my board exams. And so I did. And then the following 2 years, I went back to playing professional cricket for a club called Baliganj Sporting Club in Kolkata. And then when I was 18, in my first year of college, I took a decision to move across the country to the west, to a place called Baroda, because that was then the cricketing powerhouse, and there were more opportunities there. I was in a very good state in my cricketing life. I was just about to go back home for my exams, for my final exam for my undergrads, and after that I was supposed to fly back to Baroda for the cricket summer. So everything was lined up perfectly. I went back home, and just as I reached the city, it was announced that India is going into lockdown.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ordered a 21-day lockdown to stem the spread of coronavirus. In a televised address, Modi said there would now be a total ban on leaving home.
The next few months was just nothing. There was no cricket, there was no studies, there was nothing, just life had paused.
Quite some big news coming in for sporting fans there. BCCI suspends all domestic cricket.
The worst part was the 2021 COVID outbreak.
In India, the pandemic continues to worsen, with more than 200,000 deaths officially confirmed.
In 2020, around November, December, everything began to open up. Training had resumed, practice had resumed, and exactly when the season was about to hit, the second wave of COVID began, which was deadly.
314,000 new infections in a single day. It's the worst coronavirus outbreak for any country.
The second wave was my time to shine professionally, and it just did not happen. 2021 summer, I went back to Baroda after 2 months being at home, and I was overwhelmed. I just wanted to bowl fast, because that's again a way of expression. When you're frustrated, when you're just annoyed, irritated, fast bowling helps you the most, because you just go and bowl as fast as you can. Just throw out all your energy, all your negative vibes into that ball. And just as I was supposed to do that, without warming up, I bowled a couple of deliveries, and I was just finding my mojo, I was finding my rhythm, and tried to bowl as fast as I could, and I twisted my back. At that time was fine, because I did not feel the pain, but these kind of muscular pains always develop over time. As the days, began going, the back began getting worsely affected. It was just awful. The pain was so bad I couldn't even walk, I couldn't even bend. It took 3, 4, 5 days without showing the doctor, and then finally I did, and it showed that I had developed plasms. But what actually had happened, like on a later scan, revealed that I had twisted my lower back, which meant I was off for the entire season. And just like that, the third consecutive season, I was back in Kolkata, I was back home, not in Baroda expressing and playing cricket, but just back home. If you missed 1 season, it feels like 3 seasons. So if you miss 3 seasons, it feels like you've lost half your cricketing life. In India, at times you get lost in the competition, you get lost trying to prove yourself, because society is so interconnected over there. You have to prove to everyone that you are the best. If you're good, they will make you a legend. But if you're bad, you basically failed in life. At times it takes toll on your mental health. I was thinking of what I can do with my, with my backup career, and that's when it hit me that I do have a media degree in undergrads.
Bhavya Hemal Doshi.
So why not go into sports media, because obviously sports is my life. I never really had the exposure of going outside, abroad, traveling or just working, just wanting a different outlook towards life, because I was 23 and most people my age were going out, they were going abroad, they had already started working by that time. And I decided on UK because cricket over here is just, it's just so much better than any other country apart from India. So when I was looking at my options, I narrowed down on 4 or 5 universities, but Cardiff Met was probably the best decision because it was a very futuristic course.
I get emails from various international applicants who want to come on our course, and we get an increasing amount from India. So maybe about 12 months ago I get an email from Bhavya and I get a personal statement explaining why he wants to come to the UK to play cricket, to come to our course, and you can just tell straight away that he's a special character.
Part of the reason why I took Cardiff Met was also the Cardiff Met Cricket Club. Like a university cricket team in India is just a very alien concept, and then I come over here and they have regular practices, they attend their classes, and then they head straight to the sports hall to have a training session. That's exactly what I wanted to do.
As all cricket coaches do, as soon as you find out there's a player coming to you or looking to come to you, you go on their stats. Had a look at him and I thought, yeah, this guy's going to be good.
Cardiff Met Cricket Club is fascinating. It is an absolute melting pot of different cultures. They are from all over the world. But the thing that unites them is sport, is a love of sport and a love of cricket.
We absolutely celebrate our diversity, and something that I'm very proud of is something that I make it absolutely clear to all our players when they arrive at Cardiff Met how lucky they are to be a part of something like we are. It has taken time for us to get to where we are at the moment, but we're currently the national champions for cricket in the university sector, in the buck sector at men's level. We're blessed with talent, don't get me wrong. We're blessed with people who want to come and play Cardiff Met cricket, but I think culturally we've got it. We've got it in terms of what we're trying to do. We have a team of people who want to be there, and I think that that's probably what puts us ahead. The work that I've seen him produce has been excellent. Like, he's getting some really important kind of work in, especially in the world of cricket.
He's one of their best players. He's the first at training. He's always at lectures every day, so his discipline comes through what he does academically and what he does on the sports field. But what I've really liked about Bhavya is whilst in Cardiff, he's tapped into his Indian culture. There's a restaurant he goes to on City Road every night to get a meal.
And this is where I do my shopping from. God, it's busy. Hate it.
He has found a way to enjoy what he loved from home, but also learn about our culture.
So this is cottage cheese, curry, a few vegetables here and there, and spice. I tried to make it once, the entire kitchen was wrecked. That's how bad it was, the attempt, and so I just come here now.
And I just think that takes such maturity to settle into a culture that's different to your own, but to also hold on and celebrate your own heritage. So he's a real lesson to all of us that, you know, it's great to get out of your comfort zone, to learn what it's like to live somewhere else, to try different foods, but it's also really important to tap into what's important to you and not forget your heritage.
I miss home a lot nowadays, but in a country of 1.4 billion people, where life is a race, you know, if you stop, if you stumble, 10 people are going to overtake you. I come over here and life is slow, life is more relaxed, you know what's happening, you are aware of what's happening. I realized that I made the best decision of my life. It made me move on from a life full of injuries and problems and mental health issues and wondering whether I can make it big or not. The conditions over here, the resources you have in Wales just allows you to express yourself the way you want to. When you're always in the same conditions, when you're always in the, within the same kind of people, life becomes very monotonous. And you come over here and you see people think about life so differently. Here, life is just better. I don't think much about the future because of the journey I've had. But I do have plans, I have targets where I can have a full-time employment, where I can be a full-time paid professional cricketer. The target is to do as good as possible in both these spheres. And when I come over here and I can do that, it's a beautiful feeling.
My name's E.C. Cantrell. Welcome to the American Rugby House in Wales. Come in. My full name is Emma Claire Cantrell, and when I was born, my grandmother found out that my middle name was Claire. So she said, I'm never ever going to call her Emma, just Emma Claire. And so then it just stuck from birth. Once I started to get into sports, when I was about 6 or 7, I was playing soccer. My soccer coach was like, oh, Emma Claire, that's too long to say in sports, so we're gonna have to give you a nickname. And he called me EC, and then kind of in the sporting environment, it just stuck. Once I came over to Wales, I think because here is everything is sport, and Cardiff Met is everything sport. I study sport, I play sport, so now it's just EC to everyone. I just fell in love with rugby as soon as I stepped on the pitch. In that first year, I went to a camp held by a recruiter from Cardiff Met. We kind of got to see like what Cardiff Met could be. So I was like, this seems like a great opportunity. I love travel. Like, I've always wanted to travel around. That's been a big dream of mine. I want to see the world. And even though it was my first year playing rugby, I'm sure I wasn't up to par, so I talked to the recruiter and he said, well, you know, if you get better, we could recruit you in your senior year because there is a women's program and they're very good. So the travel and the rugby, that's what drew me to Cardiff Met. I remember sitting on the plane and everyone was asleep except for me. Like, every single person on that plane was fast asleep and I could not sleep. And I was just sitting there and all I could think about was what was gonna be next. And I had no idea. Like, I hadn't really ever heard of Wales. I was excited but very anxious. Not everything went my way. I was in the wrong course. I was in the wrong flat. The rugby was coming out of COVID year, so it wasn't like what it is now. Do whatever you need to do. Relax tomorrow, stay hydrated, do what we need to do to get ready for the game, okay? Here, find me here. Oh, sorry. Nice ball haul. I was like, I'm just gonna go home. I'm not gonna give it a chance. But I would talk to my dad and my rugby coach every day, and they were like, well, just make it till Christmas, you know.
Just happened to be, he was right across the hall.
I might have gone home if I didn't meet them. Like, they were my comfort zone. Like, they were American, they liked the same things as me, they took me in like as their friend. We knew each other's name pretty much in middle school. When we were in like 7th grade, I think I knew who he was. Yeah. I don't think, he played rugby, I knew he was just some skateboard dude. That was my only impression of him. Yeah, we were on the same rugby team. Like, I joined later than him, but we always trained together. But the girls and guys were still kind of separate. And then like our senior year, he was the captain and I was the captain. We had like one conversation about Cardiff Met, like he was asking if I was gonna go. And I think I said, yeah. And he was like, sick. And that was about it. We still weren't really friends.
We've always known of each other. We've been almost in the same social circle, I'd say a bit. In high school, we'd hang out with some of the same people, just never together. But then once we came here, her and I were like, oh, we're from the same place. We both love rugby. Like, everything just clicked immediately. And there was never really like any awkward tension, I would say. It was always just great friends.
I live with them and I spend most of my time with them. We've all supported each other in our experiences and had the same goal.
I'd say it's like a brother-sister relationship, honestly. We've become so close throughout these 3 years here. And she's definitely someone who I will continue to be very close friends with for the rest of my life.
Now that I look back on it, anyone could have that experience anywhere. It's not only because I was in Wales. I think in my mind that kind of took over, that I couldn't just go home and I was in such a new place, and I think I had a little bit of culture shock. Like, putting myself in this environment has forced me to be independent as I can, or I'm not going to enjoy my time. And it's also taught me a lot about being in a situation that you're uncomfortable with and how to get through that. You got to deal with being uncomfortable to grow as a person. If you stay comfortable in your whole life, then you're never going to find new experiences. I think sport is a wonderful thing that can help you find who you are. I think sport is so important in our society, and for young women, it really helps you develop as a woman, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Now, how do you protect this tiny stem from the storms the weathered whispers in the winds bring, from the rage of creatures that might trample it down back beneath the ground? This seed is a seed of opportunity, where no matter the battle, the suffering, the struggle, this seed can overpower anything. It just needs the will to succeed, the courage to flourish, a chance to grow.
West of Cardiff is the community of Ely, where sport is changing a troubled reputation.
I think in areas like ours, things can get too much too soon.
We are at the scene, as you can see, of this disorder that broke out in the Ely area of Cardiff last night.
We understand from South Wales Police a total of 9 people have been arrested over the disorder in the Ely area of Cardiff.
I'm still a kid. I'm seeing loads of people passing away, and you never know what can happen in this world.
You can never really leave Ely. For one reason or another, negative or positive, it's always there. I'm Liam McKay. I'm a project coordinator for Step Into Sport at Cardiff Metropolitan University. My project is a collaboration between ourselves and the South Wales Police and Crime Commissioner. So we support young people at risk of being exploited by criminals, young people at risk of becoming involved in serious youth violence. So we support them away from that in a diversionary manner into boxing, MMA, football, rugby, all types of sports really.
Okay, Jackal's good there, we'll take the first knock on by you, okay?
If things start going wrong, for young people in the area of Ely, things can snowball really fastly.
In my community, like, you'd see people go out, be on the streets, chilling on the streets, smoking weed. When I'm growing up seeing all this, it's like, in my mind, that seems normal to me.
Poverty is the main driver of everything that goes on in Ely. Poverty is the main driver of all the good stuff. Poverty is the main driver of the bad stuff. But one thing that we do have is a huge amount of community spirit, groups and organisations who are determined really to make a change, bring Ely out of the ashes really.
Right, get by your back. It's the last one. 5, 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 8.
When I was younger, the Cardiff Youth Service was a big part of our life. Tralee Youth Centre, which is no longer. You know, we had some amazing times down there when we were younger. We've seen services like that pull back so much. So local organisations and volunteer-led organisations have had to take up the slack.
People want to improve it, and a lot of it comes from the community. There's so many volunteers that do it for nothing just because they want to, especially after what I said, we had the tragic accident. It have brought everyone back together again, and let's do something for the young people.
Being a police community support officer, you're out in the community on a daily basis, and you are that link between the members of the public and the police. Step Into Sport is a joint venture between Cardiff Met and the Police Commissioner. It's a really good diversionary activity. It just gives them the opportunity to do something new. There's plenty of different activities on offer.
In 2017, me and a friend of mine, we sort of stumbled across the need really for a rugby club in the area. We started it really because the opportunity for something other than negativity is quite limited. We've got no facilities, we've got no clubhouse. Everything we've got, we've sort of scrimped and saved for. What we're trying to do is outweigh the bad stuff with some of the good stuff. Well-being and playing sport is the main arch of it, but what you want is young people taking away from some of the sports, life skills, being responsible, playing as a team and looking after some of your teammates. And all we can hope is that using the sports that we do further down the line, we'll start seeing medium to long term some better outcomes in the output for Ely. Rather than standing downstream, pulling kids out of the water, we're as a collective trying to get upstream, trying to find out why they're falling in. Prevention over intervention every day of the week for me. I suppose, and that's where you can do your best work. Like me, I didn't really start pushing on in my life till I was gone 23, 24 years of age. You sort of live your life by seasons and seasons, and it goes really quick. So what we don't want to be doing is having players and young people from the area of Ely counting down their life by prison sentences. And on tag, I'm on tag 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. Before you know it, that's 2 years of your life gone. At the age of 21, I was a prison leaver. I was sort of out with some of the boys in the city centre. Probably drank too much. Some of the boys got involved in an altercation, one of my friends. Started fighting in a bar. Sort of took it too far, then went outside and followed the guy up the street, and things just escalated from there. Couldn't remember a huge amount from the night, if I'm honest. I just woke up in the cell with a white paper suit on. I can remember just thinking, have I killed someone here? Like, I just had no idea, no clothes on, bit of blood on my arm. I just sort of sat there thinking, wow, what have I done? The relief really of my solicitor coming to the cell then, just to explain that it was a fight. I was like, oh my God. The kid was in pretty bad shape, so took a bit of surgery and stuff, I think, to repair him, and then he's sort of remorseful straight away, then hung over in the cell, remorseful straight away, a couple of tears. Having to walk from Cardiff Bay Police Station back home, it's like an hour and 15-minute walk. And the whole way just thinking, what have I done? What have I done? A year or so later, I took part in the School of Hard Knocks programme in 2015. Did pretty well on the programme and gave it my all for 8 weeks. And sport was there for me. I came out of prison on tag, went straight to the rugby club, trained on a Thursday, so I have to run home from training to be home for 7 o'clock. The game of rugby really has saved my life, really. And having that sporting community there to support you in your sort of darkest and neediest times, I suppose, is why we do what we do now, because that sort of teamwork and that team ethic is why you sort of then think, yeah, do you know what, you sort of see the light a little bit. It sounds crazy to say, but I'm really thankful that the way things have gone, because I love what I do, and it's really inspiring, really, and we'll probably see medium to long term benefits of that, but in the meantime it's the smiles on faces, the happier children, the happier families, the children scoring tries in rugby and parents telling them they're proud of them maybe for their first time is the short term benefits of what we're seeing. But medium to long term, I'm adamant we'll start seeing some better output for the area of Ely as a whole. So I think people resonate with what we're trying to do and believe in what we're trying to do, because they know that we're doing it for them and supporting local people. So it's designed by Ely, with Ely, for Ely. There isn't a lot of trust in the area for external. I've had a lot of negative and bad experiences with government, council, social services, police. I think being local, being trusted, and being responsible for what's going on in our area allows people to put their guards down a little bit, put their barriers down, and really acknowledge that you're trying to do best. You're trying to do what's best for them, their children, and you're holding out an olive branch really of support. Where I think some organisations from outside the area sort of come swinging in from the trees, offer a lot of support and guidance, and then sort of go swinging out the other side then once they've got outcomes and pictures. And we've been a constant. It's crazy though, isn't it, where you think made so many improvements, everything's still so bad. So how bad was it before?
Violent clashes erupted between police and around 150 people, triggered by the deaths of 2 teenage boys, 15-year-old Harvey Evans and 16-year-old Kyrie Sullivan.
In the most heated moments, the crowd attacks police with fireworks. In turn, they charge.
In the light of day, the true extent of the damage was clear. Amid the clean-up operation, fires still smouldered, people's cars either smashed or burnt out.
I think voices after that have no way of being ignored anymore, and it's absolutely tragic that something so horrific had to happen to those 2 boys for things to start being changed. That people think, okay, we'll start helping now. But where were they before? Where was our support before 2 boys lost their life? Reuben sort of reminds me of myself. I've known him quite a while now and speak to Mum quite regular. his sort of school and education journey was similar to mine, so very capable. Got to sort of year 9, if you like, and sort of didn't apply himself as best as he could. Sort of in and out of education for the next couple of years, and into this provision and then that provision. But I think the one constant thing that Ruben's had is being able to fight.
If you're an angry person, boxing's a good sport to get into because obviously you can lay your emotions out. You're in your own zone basically. That's what boxing helps me with. My childhood was good. I've grown up with just my mum, and she'd always work hard to get everything I got now and provide for me and my brother.
Ruben was always a cheeky, inquisitive, funny guy growing up. He was always really thoughtful. COVID came along, and as with many young people, it's had a massive impact on them. Prior to COVID, he was doing football, boxing, rugby. He was a very active young person.
I went to high school, I went to primary school. High school didn't go that well. I got kicked out in year 9. I just didn't really go to school for about a year.
Ruben tried different provisions, and it ended up that he was home tutored by the local authority, provided a tutor for him. That period was obviously difficult. He stopped playing football, he stopped playing rugby, and he stopped boxing as well. And then the incident last year happened where he was arrested.
It was a stressful day, a very stressful day. Me and my mate, we were out doing stuff that we shouldn't have been doing, and then unfortunately I got arrested, got speared off a Chiron, and it all just went downhill from there. I was upset, angry, I was worried, I was stressed because nobody, even though I knew people were there for me, when I was in that cell, because I was so alone, I was thinking, I'm on my own, you get me, nobody's here for me, what am I going to do? I was stressed out my head.
It was a very emotional night. I just finished shift and I came home and my other son had informed me. I think it was difficult because when the individuals' names were mentioned that he'd been stopped with, it was reality, thinking, oh my goodness, is my son involved in this? How is he involved? How heavily involved is it?
My first interaction with my mum, obviously I went home and I just gave my mum a big hug and told her I'm sorry, and obviously we just sat down and talked about everything.
I contacted Liam, and as soon as Ruben came home, we were like, right, okay, you're going to go back to boxing, Liam's going to set everything up for you.
I think he'll do well in terms of the boxing and in life, because he sort of got to that point that I did where things can't get much worse than this. I have no doubt that over the next months or years there'll be some bumps in the road for Ruben, as do in everyone's life. But I think he's more equipped now than what he was to deal with those, because he's got that team around him. He's got that team in Steve. Mark likes to, deliver some motivational speeches on a Monday when Ruben might say things not going too well over the weekend, and Ruben is very, very respectful of both Steve and Mark.
The winner by a knockout, Steve Robinson, the undefeated WBO featherweight champion of the world.
Now that he's down at Steve's, he's still training with Mark and Ely on a Monday, but I think Steve's taken a real shine to him. Maybe it's the Ely thing. Steve's Ely, Ruben's Ely.
One thing is it keeps you away from the streets, it keeps you your mind focused, oh yes, I'm going to do boxing today. you're always like doing something and you're always motivated. If you can take punches, if you can give punches, it's the right sport for you.
I always say Liam's a good guy. Not just Ruben, any young person, he will go out of his way to ensure that they're receiving the appropriate support.
Ely Boxing Club is a crazy place because it could be some of the most painful days and times you ever have in there in terms of your training, but you, like you said, you can't help but smile in there. So how do you put people through the pain barrier in order for them to be physically and mentally ready for combat in terms of the boxing, but still maintain that sort of fun element to it? And the character of Mark Atkins is fully testament to why the boxing club is so special in the area. You know, Mark's been volunteering for 20, 25 years. He has probably saved, you couldn't even put a number on how many lives that man has probably saved.
1, 2, 3, 4. Take your time, hands up. No straight.
Between ourselves, with just this season, so we've got what, 150. Mark is delivering to a couple of hundred a week, and the football between just the football, rugby and boxing in terms of the Kaya Ely brand, we're probably working with about 500 people a week.
Well done, Jacob.
To put a number or a figure on the amount of lives directly, never mind indirectly, you know, families and mums and dads pulling themselves to a better place because their children play in sport, I don't think you would ever be able to put a figure on it. The positive fact that sport plays a role so significant in the lives of children is a real positive. But the sad thing is, if the sport wasn't there, they'd have nothing. We work with a couple of hundred kids a week. There's 8,000 children under 18 in Ely. So if we were working with 800, it's only 10% of the population that we want to be working with. So I suppose in a way we need to keep working with governing bodies and keep working with funders and keep working with organisations that can help us push the 20% and 30% and 40%, but we're not going to be able to do that on our own. No, there's no area or organisations like Ely, so I would be surprised if we didn't succeed because, you know, we have too many good people involved to fail, really.
Through the storm, the stem grows. When treaded on by creatures, the stem picks itself back up, shakes off the mud, stands strong in the whistling winds, and grows. This idea, generating potential, blooming through the spring, watered, nurtured, is not a magic seed. But it exceeds limits, defies physics, grows at a rapid rate through the self-belief growing in you.
If we've learned anything in Wales, obstacles are also opportunities.
I'm at Roath Park. This is where I used to play basketball in the summer. Spent like most of my days here, like from morning till evening, literally just playing. My brother took me for the first time and I was a bit nervous. Like I knew that other people with more experience will be playing there as well. But I think I did good for my first time. My brother says so anyway. He was impressed. A lot of people there were as impressed as well. Yeah, it was the best. Like the real push for basketball started here, yeah. I probably was a little bit better than I gave myself credit for. However, I think me not giving myself enough credit at that time is something that really motivated me. It was European Championships in July 2019. Represented Wales, went to Moldova and got All-Star 5, so we love that. All-Star 5 are the best 5 players of the tournament. From those All-Star 5 you get an MVP as well. I was really happy about it. Once I put my mind to something, I have to make it happen. It wasn't really on my mind to stay here at all if I wanted to play basketball. I like America. I like the thought of going to live in America and stay and play basketball. So when I really started thinking of going to America, maybe around like 14, 15, I was finally happy that something was happening. I was one step closer to achieving like my dream. I did not end up going to America to play basketball. I wanted to finish college after European Championships, so that was 2 years, and then I would go to America. However, December 2019, I underwent a surgery that went wrong. But I didn't really think too much about the surgery because the surgeon that's done it multiple times. It was all planned out, so I had nothing to worry about. I was in safe hands with one of the best surgeons in the UK. I had knocked knees beforehand, which means my knees were going in a little bit and it was causing me joint issues whenever I'd play basketball. So it was just like a routine procedure. I was meant to go on both knees. They damaged an artery at the back of my knee, which then delayed the blood flow to my leg, meaning like my leg was dying. They had to rush me to Heath Hospital. Whilst I was there, I developed compartment syndrome, which is something that happens to your leg, where your leg is like being filled with fluid. So it's swelling to the point it was about to explode, really. They had to cut me open either side of my leg to release the fluid. Then I had another surgery to try and close the scars up, but my leg was still too swollen to fully close. So I had 5 surgeries in the space of 2 weeks. Again, immense pain, like pain that I've never felt before, that I can't even explain to anyone. But going from having a routine procedure, maybe staying one night if necessary, to having to stay up to almost a month in hospital was a challenging time, especially as I was only like 16 years old. Some doctors saying that like you're like not gonna walk again, let alone even go back to basketball, let alone run, like you're not gonna walk again. Having all that happen to me when like you feel like your life is just about to like lift off and then it just goes the opposite direction. It was definitely a challenge. But I decided not to listen to them. Once I put my mind to something, it has to be done. So pushed myself, surprised some doctors, started walking, obviously with crutches, but started walking. Then it was trying to figure out how I'm gonna walk with my leg. Then it was like, how am I gonna run again? It's taught me a lot of stuff about myself, about my own mentality, about other people as well.
For me, as more recently entered the world of parasports after a significant, I guess, life-changing injury. So she came through the same path as I did through Disability Sport Wales. One of my teammates / physios, she was like part-time my physio as well during all of this. Her husband, her name is Ruth, her husband is called Anthony Thomas. He put me in contact with someone called Anthony Hughes, who I owe a lot of my story to. He is the face of disability sport in Wales, which is the organisation that really took me in. The same day I met him, I met my coach Josh Clark as well. And I wanted to go in, just try a few different sports here and there, but as soon as they saw me, they were like, yeah, you're a thrower. Ever since then, I've just been training. They very much did help me, not only in athletics, getting me into athletics, but like day-to-day life. Like obviously I was still transitioning. I have my reservations about throwing because I think it's a hard act to follow.
after basketball. Once I got into athletics, I kind of just flew. Most of the competitions, I didn't even know what competitions they were, I just turned up and competed.
This is on YA of Great Britain.
Went to this comp, that comp, first, second, first. It was kind of, I don't know, a confidence boost, I guess.
That puts her up into the bronze medal position behind.
The main goal, you could say, that I have coming up is definitely the Paralympics. If I come back with a medal, if that means come back with a medal, so be it, do you know what I mean? But if it doesn't, then enjoying the experience as well is a big deal for me. I want to go all the way, full in, and achieve as much as I can. My goal is to make myself happy, is to be chilled, not stressed, and just have a happy life, really. I coach basketball. Yeah, that's how I stay involved with basketball at the moment. I've been coaching for about, I want to say 3 years or just over now. I love coaching them. It's a laugh every session anyway. And I think one thing for me is making sure that they have a great experience in growing up in basketball like I did, because I know how much of an impact that had on my life. I like the fact that they do take me seriously, but I can have a laugh with you and I can make your experience enjoyable. Staying in touch with basketball helps quite a bit as well. Even though I wasn't playing, just being in that atmosphere, going to watch games, whether it's tabling, whether it's coaching basketball, like being around basketball really did help me. My story is not over yet, and whether that means in Paralympics sport or whether that means reaching out to people in different ways. Like, I know that God has a plan for my life. I know it's a great plan, and I feel like it's not the end.
I feel like we're very like a yin and yang. I feel like we complement each other like really, really well. Adele, she's very awkward, silly, funny, shy.
Jade, she's determined, loud.
In terms of their relationship, I would say is very strong. They just both want each other to succeed at the highest level.
Me and my sister, we always fought and argued, but they've just always looked after one another. They've all played together.
We used to share a room. I remember one time like sleeping, and she woke herself up and blamed me for snoring and threw a pack of cards at me.
And if one did the crime, they all did it together. For example, when one of them cut their hair to get bubblegum out, they all decided to cut the hair, and Adele ended up with fringe up here.
My mum and dad, they kind of let us do what we want from afar. One time we were like, we want to be grown up, we want to walk to the park by ourselves, and we got lost and we didn't know where to go, we didn't know who to go to, and like our mum and dad was there around the corner because they were following us because they wanted to make sure we didn't get lost. Growing up and my parents being there in the house has allowed me to feel loved and feel cared for and know that I am valuable and know that we are all valuable. I was really, really young when she first started showing signs.
All these kids were like running around and not getting as tired as I was.
So we looked into the doctors and they were like, oh no, we're just going to have a little look. And we went to genetics and they basically told us that me and Paul's genetics had created this hereditary spastic paraplegia.
So basically, her room became her friend, and that's where she locked herself away.
I guess when you're deteriorating as quickly as she was, it's hard to know when that deterioration's going to stop.
Didn't cry, didn't smile, didn't laugh, didn't want to go out. Everything was really, really hard work to make her do anything. Looking back on it, I think I was just very in denial. I didn't want to be the only person that I know who had something wrong with them.
I remember in our old house, and she couldn't walk upstairs and she slept downstairs, that we got a camper bed to join, and I used to sleep on the camper bed, and all I remember is just us trying to like make it out like it was this big like sleepover, I guess. I remember sitting there being like, if I could take this away from her and have it myself instead of her, like fine.
So though they say it wasn't until an age I had it, they all had it when they were born.
When I was younger and I was in a wheelchair, obviously, Tanya started showing signs of it, and then Jade started showing signs of it. And it's a bit weird because you're young and you don't know what's going on, and I thought I was contagious. that I was the one that made them disabled. I'm sorry.
The PE teacher at the school said about Jade, she kept falling into walls.
I remember going to a doctor's appointment and then getting diagnosed, and then I remember my mum and dad both hugging each other and becoming sad. My disability affects me by tightness in my legs. Some days it's really, really bad, other days it's not as bad.
Tomorrow's here, we got to move on, and that's what we did. When we come across basketball, it became like a little doorway. It opened up and I saw life began to happen again.
I just really enjoyed how I was able to do a sport and participate.
Dad's been asking me to go, I'll go. And I remember going and doing this session, and I remember really, really liking it.
When Jade started basketball and she enjoyed it, I started to forgive myself. It was nice to see a smile.
Basketball created an enjoyment and a smile and the love that they still had for each other, but they just forgot how to express their feelings. Before long, the man there was like, we see potential in these players.
And me and Jade gave a good impression to the coach to represent our countries.
I remember the first time getting my vest and the amount of pride I had.
Got to play for my country, which not a lot of people get to experience, so I just remember just happiness and enjoyment.
And they always take this picture where Jade puts her arms around her and they have the medal. So when I see that picture, that goes everywhere.
3 years ago to where she is now, she was in the books for GB, I would say, but now pushing to trying to be there on that starting five. Given the opportunity, obviously selection's not been made with Jade going to Paralympics yet. If she goes there, she's got the ability to be one of the best players in the world.
But my thought process is I want to go into that selection knowing that I've done everything I can, and if I get selected then great, and if I don't, at least I know I've tried my hardest. I know I'll be doing basketball next year, I know that's not even a question, but I guess what will I be doing with basketball, what will be alongside that?
Jade's got a very caring side about her that she doesn't necessarily always let on, which will probably kill me for saying.
I was thinking of social worker. Helping others is just something that I've been brought up to be, so I'd like to give back and help everyone.
I have absolutely no goals in my head of what they have to achieve. They achieve what they want to achieve. And if they're happy with that, I'm happy.
You always know that they're going to be there for you.
I don't think I am an inspiration. I don't think my story is an inspiration. I think what's inspiring is, anyone that can dedicate themselves to a sport or dedicate themselves to a lifestyle or dedicate themselves to being happy, I think that's inspirational.
The stem matures quickly. Unbreakable wood forms a trunk, stability. The Welsh air wanders through the gaps of branches reaching high, twisting in interesting directions. Leaves absorb sunlight, take a step back. The shape appears to be a map of ideas. Flowers blossom, offering eye-widening inspiration to those who now see your vision. Your story, your one seed, now your evergreen tree.
Coming home, it reminds me of my beginnings, it reminds me of how far I've come. When I was a young person, I had no dreams, I had no aspirations. I didn't know what life had in store for me.
In James's early years, we did everything normal. We went swimming, we played football. He always wanted to fit in and blend in.
I do have a vision in life, and that is to be as successful as possible on track and off track as well. I had no confidence. I didn't have any dreams, I didn't have any aspirations. I was just very much just floating through life. So it wasn't really until I found my true sporting journey, that's when my life started to change.
It's the biggest place he can be free. It's the biggest place he can be himself. It's the biggest place he can be just one of the other guys, one of the athletes.
I remember my first session like it was yesterday. I just felt this sense of freedom that I've never experienced before in my life.
The first time I ever saw James training, he was doing some drills, and I remember watching him moving, just thinking, wow, that kid moves really well. I didn't even know he had a visual impairment.
I was born with a condition called bilateral coloboma and nystagmus.
But after he was born, we realised that he had slight nystagmus. Nystagmus is a slight movement of your eye. And basically it's your eye looking for the best image. So it's never quite happy with the image it's receiving, so it moves the eye around a little, which causes them to wobble. Later on, obviously, we realised that he had coloboma.
Bilateral coloboma is a condition where the structure of the eye doesn't form during pregnancy, so it kind of reduces that flow from the optic nerve, which leaves you with a teardrop-shaped pupil. I would do everything in my power to hide my disability. I didn't want to be seen to be not good because I was the boy that couldn't see. I think for me growing up and understanding my disability and understanding who I was real difficulty. Later on in my life I've had detached retinas in both eyes. For me that was an experience that was so unique. I was in the shower and it just felt like there was a river running through my eye constantly, and that was very scary.
He was almost in tears on the phone, saying that his vision become watery. Obviously at that moment, you're thinking the worst. If your retina peels away, then you go blind. So it was important to stitch back on whatever was left so that he had some vision. Fortunately, when he got into hospital, they realised that the retina had settled. So what they wanted to do is immediately get the laser out and pin the edges, basically weld the edges, spot weld them to prevent it from peeling away again.
That has left me with less than 3% total vision. If I could describe it, it's just like seeing contrasts in colour, and that's it. Knowing you were different from a very young age made me feel extremely lonely, and it kind of made me feel like I couldn't speak to anyone, because how could I describe what I can see when I don't know what it's like to see?
It was difficult as a parent because as James got older, you could see that he was becoming more aware of what he couldn't do.
When I really started to notice it, I guess I was watching TV. I just found myself just sitting there, questioning like, how can not anyone else see what I'm seeing right now? I just couldn't imagine living my life that way for the rest of my life. There's moments where I just hated who I was. Them times in my life were very, I guess looking back, and very tough. I'm just happy that there was a point in my life where that all changed for me.
So when we first met, I didn't know that he was disabled or had a visual impairment or anything. Once he did tell me, I was able to ask questions and kind of find out more about how to support him or how he kind of perceives the world. But overall, he does, adapt very, very well to life.
One of the things that I find most frustrating is these little things in life where I guess people with sight just do normal day to day. So when I'm shaving, I'll often miss patches, and there's only so much you can feel. So Charlotte will, I guess, any patches that I missed, she'll kind of go over for me if I've missed any. This is the King's Throne where I like to sit to watch TV again, so I can kick my feet up, but as you can see, I'm very close, as close as I can be, comfortably. I know where everything is in this kitchen, so I take the time to learn the settings. So even as the hobs now, if you feel on the hobs, they've got little indentations. This one's bottom right, this one's top left, this one's top right. So I can feel, I wouldn't recommend this, but I can feel where the heat's coming from. So I know the pan is pretty central just because I can feel the heat coming through the pan.
He was determined, very determined to do everything everybody else did, and I'd say we just found a way to make that happen, really.
I think my dad was just tired of seeing me sit on the bench and not kind of realising my own potential. So he just said to me one day, James, this isn't it. What do you want him to do? And I don't know why, but the first thing I said is that I want to be fast. When it was mentioned about going up to Cardiff to take part in the Talent Identification Day with Disability Sport Wales, even then I was a bit I'm not sure, I don't want to be seen to have a disability. But we went, I loved it. From that moment on, I slept, ate and breathed athletics. I was all in, and I wanted to do everything I possibly could to be the fastest I could be and to be the best athlete I could be.
Something that you should know about James is he's fiercely competitive no matter what it is, and yet despite obviously what he's gone through his life, nothing's been able to hold him back.
But there's moments in sport where it just hits you.
So the ambulant men's 100 metre final. Niels Roan, Stephen Stone, James Ledger.
And you think, this is why. This is why I make all these sacrifices.
Come on, James! Let's go, come on!
This is why it's worth it. To stand on the start line and to hear a crowd roar. Such a feeling I can't describe, and it's a feeling like we chase every day. That is the reason why I make these sacrifices, for moments like that, to make my family proud and my friends proud, and to showcase, yes, I'm blind, but this is what I can do.
There's some people who, some of the things he's had to go through, it would completely break them, or they just wouldn't be able to carry on, but the fact he's just completely shifted it and turned it around into something so positive and just something he loves so much, just makes me so proud.
So the visually impaired classifications are 11, 12 and 13. I was originally in the very much bottom tier of a T12 category. And then T11s is the lowest sight impairment, which require a blindfold and plasters and a guide runner as well. My sight has got worse, so that has led me to compete in the T11 classification. Hearing your sight is getting worse is never the conversation you want to have.
It was a little bit of a confidence knock in him slightly, but then I think now he's got used to that idea and he's got used to being in that classification and he's a lot more confident.
It's not nice to hear that something has deteriorated, but on the other hand, James is such a positive person. He saw it as an opportunity to push on and maybe take something a step further than he would have previously.
I don't think I could ever understand what he's been through. I mean, I see on a day-to-day basis how well he conducts himself and how he moves around, and honestly, it's just so courageous and amazing. He's in the gym doing the exact same stuff as me, and he's on the track running flat out. So it's a real great thing he's doing.
Not knowing your surroundings, it does make me feel uncomfortable. So having a guide runner kind of relieves that anxiety I feel on race day.
James has only been in the category he's in now, I think, for 3 years. So we are still only just developing. He's got a new guide runner. Last season he was with a guy called McCoy. Now Greg has come into the fold.
James and Mac both shared on social media that he was looking for a guide runner. They were looking for a 10.6, 10.7, 100 metre sprinter, which myself, I fit that mould. And I think anything much faster than that would be athletes that are maybe looking for individual opportunities to go to major champs, so I reached out to James.
It's been an amazing partnership so far, and his ability to learn and understand what it takes to be a guide has been so impressive.
Elite sprinting, operating up at sort of 10, 11 meters a second, orientating your body, your limbs at that speed is difficult enough when you have all the visual feedback that a normal person would have. For James to be able to do all of those things without any of that visual feedback of even just where the ground is, for me is phenomenal, and I don't think I'll truly ever understand it. And I think that understanding from the guide runner how important it is for himself as well as James really could push the boundaries of what is capable for James now.
The importance of a guide runner, I think, starts way before that start line. For me, it's a mind, body and soul thing. Like we're tied together, running as fast as I can. It might be one of the truest relationships in sport. The amount of trust I have to have in this person to run as fast as I can in the dark is something. And no, his ability to communicate is so key in that process. They're my eyes. They are my eyes and they are what I see.
And the second that the blindfold goes on, Greg is in charge of everything. Greg has to basically take James everywhere we go. He's the one who has to put James into the blocks at the start of the race.
The race is going to be done in 11 seconds. There's quite a lot can happen in that 11 seconds. I'll typically have a point that, right, that's us up at 30, because that should essentially mean we're out of our drive phase. Then I would say we're at 50 or 60 metres, and then I would shout 10 to go, and then it would be dip. And then when I shout dip, I would sort of peel back and allow James to dip and make sure he crosses the line before me, because otherwise we would be disqualified from the race.
5 on 30 all.
Their role is so much more than just running 100 metres. These guide runners are unsung heroes of the sport, and they deserve every bit of recognition, because without them, I can't follow my dreams. There's been some huge moments in my life, and you know, I've been lucky enough to travel the world through the sport I love. I'm a proud Welshman. Representing Team Wales at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games was very much a huge achievement for me. To hear that crowd, 40,000 people shouting your name, it was an incredible feeling.
Il faut rester dans son couloir, très important, et hop, le guide ralentit un petit peu. D'ailleurs, je me demande si...
In terms of performances, I broke the British record for the T11 category in the 60 metres and 100 metres. I was ranked 6th in Europe, number 1 in the UK, and number 14 in the world.
Obviously, watching James in the stadium with 50, 60,000 people, seeing his name up on the board, you know, representing his country, it's an incredible feeling and experience to have your child experience that.
We're pushing for higher, we have to, especially this year. You know, it's Paris, Paralympic year, so we're doing everything we possibly can to be in with a shout for a medal in Paris.
It takes a lot of guts to sprint hard flat out into the pitch blackness, and I think he demonstrates his courage by doing that, and hopefully that will, instill courage in other people to overcome their challenges. I've seen him in action supporting people, not just people with visual difficulties, but with other disabilities as well.
I work for Disability Sport Wales, and I support other visually impaired athletes come through the pathway and find their sport that they would love to do. I host the Disability Sport Wales podcast.
Bumi, thank you so much for
that is one side of it, but also, doing school visits. I quickly realised that through the initiatives and projects that we were running, that I was in a position to communicate, to speak to others. And I think from that moment on, that's when I realised, okay, I can make a real difference here. Everyone has a purpose, and if I can help somebody realise that, I think it would help me understand again what I've been almost put on this earth to do. I'm forever grateful for the people in my life, and I think I owe it to them to make them proud in what I do.
He's just that guy on a day that brings good energy. He's always positive, he's always smiling, he's always happy. Just having him around the guys is so much fun.
He guides me in a lot of things, and in terms of inspiration and things off the track, as well as me giving back and guiding him to allow him to compete.
One of the things I respect and love about James most is he's had some barriers and some obstacles to overcome through life, but he's the first to make sure that it's never allowed him to stumble or fall.
From the day I've met him, really, he's always just got such a positive outlook on life. It is such a goal that he is really trying to reach, that every day counts.
Sport has been absolutely crucial in his life so far. It's given him so much wealth and emotion and contact with people around the world. It's given him so much positivity.
We talk about sunshine and rainbows. That's track and field. I still go through days now where I wake up and think, why me? Why do I miss patches of my beard when I'm shaving? Why can't I drive a car? All these things, I ask myself why. But then when I'm on track, I think this is why. Because I know I can't do all these things, but I can do this. That acceptance has helped me understand what I've been born to do. And that's been born to educate, to support, to inspire, as well as to run fast. Racing in front of all these people or achieving these things, these moments I never thought would be possible. I'd love to speak to that boy who was 10, 12, who would shy away from everything and have no dreams and aspirations. If I said to him now, this is what you'd be doing, I would just laugh, because My life at that time was none of this. And I think sport has given me a life that I never thought I'd live.
Flowers blossom, each holding a new seed, offering eye-widening inspiration to those who now see your vision, your story, your once seed, now your evergreen tree. You never know what idea might inspire. You never know what story might captivate, educate, resonate. What if sport was the seed that changed lives?
Spare me your child's change and I'll turn it into gold. Use it as an offering instead of those dollar bills. As we wait for your first words with anticipation, who knows what you might do, even what you might say. Nothing but whimpers and sleepless nights, the bounce of the kitchen floors. It's 6 in the evening, can tell what you're feeling. Someone put me to sleep, and you have your mother's eyes, and you have your mother's eyes. Speak if you will, or crawl if you can. Time is on your side. We know you will, my dear, 'cause our lives are entwined in tonight, and the years will just pass us by with a fright. Close proximity is what I am.